So tomorrow will probably be a very hard day. Um, I'm going to try and keep my mind occupied, but it's just strange to me that I'll be working because that's exactly what happened a year to the day. I was working, and on my first break when the phone rang, my grandpa had answered the phone, and he just said, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. And I remember getting to the phone at 11:47, 45-ish. I went on break at 11:45. About 11:47 is when I grabbed the phone in the front room. Or in the dining room, sorry. And I can remember Carl Hospital saying, "We're sorry, but she passed peacefully and she's no longer with us." It's funny how that phrase has impacted my days and my nights since. Um, she was a huge influencer in my life, and I'm grateful and I'm blessed to have her as long as I did. Through the good, the bad, the ups and the downs, she was there. I knew I could always count on her. I knew she wasn't going to be walking away, and I knew that nothing I said or did would make me feel less in her eyes. I knew how much she cared because she showed it. I knew just how much I meant to her because she showed it. She always said, back your actions up with your words. And I remember that. She also never knew a stranger. She always made everybody feel welcomed. There was countless times growing up that I can remember, we would bring friends over here because it was the cool place to hang out. Because at that time, I would let's order a pizza and let's have chips and cottage cheese and macaroni. And there was nobody who could make macaroni and cheese like my grandma. Just saying. That was one thing I always remember. The small things in life don't take advantage of, and don't think that you're going to be granted a tomorrow just because of your age, or that you're healthy, or that you don't feel ill, because we're not promised tomorrow. And that's one thing I think a lot of people take for granted. And they think, oh, you know what? I have time. I can make up for any wrongs later on. You don't know that. You're not 110% sure on that statement, so don't make it. I'm trying to refrain from this because I know I need my voice for the next 3 days and I don't need to get sick, but I'm already bawling. I'll share this with you. One thing that I can always recall was that Sunday dinners were very special. They were big fans of Cracker Barrel, and they were always so proud of Cracker Barrel. They used to be in this club, and one of my favorite stories about my grandparents, probably of all time, this UPS truck pulls up front, and my grandpa went and got the box. It said it was from Cracker Barrel. They had gotten enough points to get a gift from Cracker Barrel. And so Grandma was overjoyed. She thought for sure she got a ham, got some maybe cookies or a dessert. And when they opened it up, it was a replica of Cracker Barrel. And to this day, we still have that replica. It's in the front room. And just little moments that may not mean too much to other people, but they mean the world to me, because those are the people that took time out of their busy schedules, and they made me realize that I mattered. There's an old saying in this world that we only walk through it once. And I always believe that we make our own choices. We pave our own paths, if you will. And the day that I was born, they didn't walk. They didn't walk away because I broke some long-standing tradition of not being a boy that was first born. I was always, and I still to this day, proud to be called their granddaughter. And that is something that I'll be forever grateful for. What the hugest blessing I ever had in my life was being their granddaughter. I didn't bring it in here, but there's this picture of me and Conway Twitty. And she always put other people before herself. She always made everybody feel welcome in her home. Now, what I am going to say to that first is about the Conway Twitty story. There was this place called Twitty City in Hendersonville, Tennessee. It's no longer there. I believe some Christian network took it over. Anyway, long story short, Conway was riding around in a golf cart, and my grandma spotted him. Now, I don't know where my mom and him was at that time, and I think my grandpa went to the restroom. This was back before my grandma started using a walker or wheelchair or even a cane. I was walking with her, and she said, "Donna, that's Conway Twitty." And I always didn't want to make a scene. I always didn't want to cause any, body any problems or any grief. And I knew that the man riding with him had to be a police officer because he had all these badges on. Well, she looked at him and she goes, "Aren't you Harold Jenkins?" And she just about shouted it. Or Conway Twitty. And he said, "No, I'm Harold Jenkins. That's his real name." She goes, "Yeah, that's Conway Twitty." So he told the guy to pull over. He got out and he goes, "You want your picture with me, ma'am?" And she goes, "No, I want your picture with my granddaughter." So what I hope most is, I know Conway's up there, but I hope that they got their picture, because Grandma always put other people first, and she was so good at that. We had some family members that was related on her Henson side, and they had made it in the world, made their big mark. And I had to be about 8 or 9 when my great grandma passed, Grandma Kane. And the nieces to her at that time felt like they were too good to come into her house and have a meal after the funeral. Oh, my grandma's temper. I think I got my temper from her. It hit the roof. She walked out on that porch and I followed her just to see what was going on. And I can remember her saying their names and saying, "If you don't feel good enough to break bread at my table, then don't bother crossing the threshold and coming back to see me ever." I don't know why people do what they do, why they think they're better than anybody, because we all put our pants on the same way. Yeah, sure, you may get paid a little bit more in the bank account, but can you take that money with you to the gates of heaven? That's what I have to say to you on that. She always thought everybody was equal. No one was better than anybody else. And one thing that I would say about the relationship between my grandma and grandpa, they truly had 72 years of give and take. When she would push him to his limit, he would jump in the car, ride around the block, and come in the house. And they'd always set the record straight. He wouldn't walk away from her. He'd listen, then he would speak his mind, sometimes really loud, because she had a hole in this eardrum over here, and this ear was very weak. Only the last few years of her life did she try a hearing aid. So I would say seeing them together was the testimony of what love is. And I can remember so vividly going through that breakup with Mike going through every breakup, but I'm only going to share the one with Mike. And I hit my knees in the kitchen after the phone call came. She immediately picked up the phone, called my mom. I don't know what to do about this girl. She's in here having some fit, conniption, carrying on. She's on her knees crying, wanting him back. And I just wish she'd realize this is the greatest joy and blessing in my life. Not that I didn't want her to be happy. It's just I knew he was using her. And I don't know what to say on that other than I'm grateful that I spent my time here with her. It was a blessing. There's no words that can say any further. She didn't know a stranger. She would call open line and talk on that program. Probably like where I come on here and talk to you. Probably that's where I get that from. She would call into the TNN shows that they had, like Nashville Now and those shows, and try to, speak her mind there. She always let people know where they stand and where they stood with her. She wasn't shy or bashful about it, and she was very forthcoming that if you were her family and her blood or extended blood, you knew how she felt about you. You knew that she loved and cared about you, and there was always a place at her table for you. You never went away hungry. And Cousin Penny, I can't say enough about you for being there. At the drop of a hat, really. Any time that we needed you, all we had to do was call, and you were there. Many a meals you spent with Grandma, and she would say, talk about topics of the family, to talking about topics of the day, or how her day was going, or how her therapy was going, or what she thought the doctors were doing wrong, because she knew all about how to fix their problems. Or my mom, she would call and want to know about how Mike was doing there when the first time around. She was always worried about other people other than herself. There's many topics I could probably touch on that I should touch on, but all I will say is she always said, Donna, you just got to believe the best in people, even when, it doesn't look like they're presenting you the best picture. Where mercy is shown, mercy is given. And she lived by that. I think one of the cutest stories I'll share with you about Grandma and Grandpa, and I have a million of them, but this is just one. We went to go see Garth Brooks when he was first starting out over there at Nashville North. She bet my grandpa, I want to say a lottery ticket, that he couldn't meet Garth Brooks. Not only did Grandpa say, you're on, he took me with him. So we went out behind Nashville North in Taylorville, where they had his bus parked. Ty England was standing there. And we started talking with him, and he goes, listen, Ty, I need you to do me a favor. He goes, my wife is in there. She bet me, I think it was a $5 lottery ticket. It was a lottery ticket of some sort. That I couldn't get her back here to meet Garth. And he goes, oh, you're so on. So he gets us backstage, and he's like, yeah, but I gotta go get my wife. He goes, you go get whoever you need to. And I kid you not, my mom, my grandpa, and my grandma, me, and I can't say that person, was back there. And we were all getting the honor and privilege to meet Garth Brooks. Probably one of my favorite pictures. And yes, that's autographed by Garth. And of course, Grandpa got his lottery ticket. Little moments make life matter. And I think one thing I adore about this house is she would say that song by Doug Stone, that love grows best in little houses, never fits so well like it did her and my grandpa. And I always thought that was the most beautiful thing, because She always said, well, you could live in the finest of houses, but that's not what matters. What matters is how you treat the next person, no matter who it is. She always had an open space at her table. By that I mean no one was a stranger. If she invited you over, she would cook you something and she would have to eat it. And you would have to smile and go, so good. And it wouldn't be something fancy. And usually, most of the time, if it was dessert, she'd send Grandpa in there to make a banana cream pie from scratch. But her specialty was always the little things. And that's what mattered the most. 2 days after we lost Grandma, I got this gold coin in the mail. It's of a guardian angel. Grandpa thought that I wanted it put on her gravestone, but it's too special. I keep it with me. And when I told her on the day that we buried her, I said, you'll always be my guardian angel, and I will always have you with me. I keep this picture close at hand. One, because it's got Sammy in it, and two, because it's got Grandma in it, most importantly. And that's the Grandma I remember. The one that would watch late night TV with me, and we would discuss the outfits on the Today Show and what were they thinking wearing those outfits. To ringing in the new year. And it's not easy by any means. But you just got to remember this. And I think this is what she would want everybody to take away from her legacy. It's how you treat others that matters. Make time for people. Work them in your busy schedule. And most importantly, if someone matters to you, tell them life is too short. If someone has made an impact in your life and you have not told them, the only person you're hurting is yourself. If you are mad or angry at someone over something small or trivial, the only person you're hurting is yourself. And most importantly, if you can forgive, because where mercy is shown, mercy is given, then that's what you need to take away in life. I miss you, Grandma, now and always. With love, Donna.